Welcome to Monday Madness at Max Credit Boost Academy. Today's topic is going to be inquiries. Inquiries are notoriously difficult to remove, so knowing everything you can about inquiries is important to the removal process. The first thing you need to know is the difference between hard inquiries and soft inquiries. Hard inquiries hurt your credit. Soft inquiries do not. Soft inquiries will occur when a lender looks at your credit to see if they can pre-approve you for an offer, and it can also happen when you apply for a card through a company that says no credit check, or we only do a soft inquiry so it doesn't hurt your credit for approval. Be careful with those, because even though they say it's not going to hurt your credit, they will pre-approve you, but then when they go to fully approve you, they do place a hard inquiry on your account. They just often don't tell you that part until after. So a hard inquiry is when a prospective lender that you've given permission to, now we'll talk about permissible purpose, has placed a hard inquiry on your account for something that you've applied for, such as an auto loan, a credit card, a mortgage, anything that requires credit approval. You'll typically sign paperwork giving them permission to do so. So when you have a hard inquiry placed on your account, it does affect your credit score. The good news is it only affects your credit score minimally and for a very short period of time. Inquiries fall off your credit after 2 years. After 1 year, they do not hurt your credit anymore, and after 6 months, they barely hurt your credit anymore. So if you have inquiries that are older than 6 months, they're really not worth going after. You can, but they're not worth the time, because by the time you send the letters and you argue with the bureaus and the lenders to get them removed, they're probably going to be over a year old and not hurting your credit anymore. So in order for an inquiry to legally report to your credit file, they must have permissible purpose. Permissible purpose is the right reason to be looking at it, and permission from you bearing your signature allowing that. Often by the time you're disputing these inquiries, nobody can prove that, and they are considered erroneous. So I'm going to show you 4 different letters that I have in order to remove inquiries from a credit file. Okay, so in this first letter, you're going to see here at the top, it's client's name and address, then you're writing to the credit bureau first. And in this letter, you are going to say, I recently applied for credit, and one of the reasons I was denied was due to the amount of inquiries on my report. I've reviewed my credit file through a third-party credit monitoring service, and I'm disturbed by the amount of inquiries that I do not recognize. It's really important to say that you do not recognize them. Don't say they are not mine right off the bat, because if they are yours and you say they're not and they prove that they are, that could be fraud. So just say that you don't recognize them. Chances are you don't recognize them if there's a whole lot of them. And then you list them. You need to list the name of the company and the date of the inquiry so the credit bureau can find the account that you're referring to. Under the FCRA, you're only allowed to report true and accurate information, since inquiries must have permissible purpose and an agreement signed by me giving me permission to view my report. Giving them permission to view my report, I'm asking you to open an investigation on the matter. In the absence of permissible purpose or verification provided to me within 30 days of the receipt of this letter, you are required to remove the unverifiable information from my file, and I respectfully ask that you do so. Since I've been denied credit within the last 60 days, you must also provide me with a copy of my credit report. Please also include this in your response. And then you want to list what you are requesting from them in bullet format so that it's very clear, so that they have a checklist of the information you're requesting. That way, when they respond and they have not provided you with that very easy 4-point checklist of what you're requesting, you could be able to write that second letter to the bureau to get it removed. You are requesting permissible purpose, which is the reason that they are pulling your credit file. You're requesting them to verify your permission to inquire, bearing your signature. So you're basically asking them to contact the data furnisher, the person who provided the inquiry to your credit file, and make sure that they had permission to inquire on your file. Then you're going to add in their name of the person at your company who verified with the creditor, because in order to force an investigation, a human's got to do it. You don't want a 3-digit eOscar code sent back to you, so you want to force them to really actually do this investigation. Then you want to ask them the name of the person at the creditor's company who provided the information, because again, you want to force their hand and make them actually contact them to do this. And then you just put a standard greeting in the end there. I appreciate the time you will take to send me this information, and I'll be in touch after I've received this information and read it through. And then you sign it. Don't forget to include the copy of your client's license, social security card, and utility bill with matching addresses so that you can verify your identity and your address and their address. So the second letter, send this letter out at the same time that you send this first letter to the bureau. You want to be sending the second letter to the lender because you want to just hit them both at the same time. So you'll write out the client's name, the lender's name and address, the date. I have recently reviewed my credit file and I'm disturbed by the inquiry from your company on my file. I do not recall authorizing you to pull my credit file. According to my credit file, you placed an inquiry on my file and then you insert the date of the inquiry on your file. Under the FCRA, you're only allowed to report true and accurate information since inquiries must have permissible purpose and an agreement signed by me giving you permission to review my report. I'm asking you to provide me with competent evidence that you had a right to do so. In absence of permissible purpose or verification provided to me within 30 days of the receipt of this letter, you are required to remove the information from my file, and I respectfully request that you do so. Please provide me with the following information regarding your inquiry: permissible purpose and verification of permission to inquire, bearing my signature. If you're not able to provide me with this information or provide it to me within 30 days, I respectfully request that you remove the inquiry from my file immediately. And then standard greeting, closing again. So both of those letters have a potential to come back with response letters blaming the other person, blaming the bureau or blaming the lender. And I've provided you with 2 more letters to respond to those. The credit bureau will often respond with a letter saying that you have to contact the furnisher, that it's their responsibility. It is not just their responsibility, it is also the responsibility of the credit bureaus to make sure they are reporting true and accurate information. They also have responsibilities under the FCRA. So in response to a letter telling you to contact the lender, you would send this letter back to the credit bureau. You would say, thank you for your response to my request to investigate the erroneous inquiries on my file. I am not pleased that you would direct me to the lender to remove these inquiries when it is in fact your responsibility to make sure information contained in my file is true and accurate. You have neither opened an investigation under your responsibility to investigate laid out in the FCRA, nor provided me with the evidence of this investigation. You have now also passed the 30-day period which the FCRA gives you to investigate, and you must now remove the items in question. I will give you 15 days to remove the following erroneous inquiries. And then you list the same inquiries you listed in the first letter. If after 15 days the inquiries have not been removed from my credit file, I will seek to file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the Federal Trade Commission for willful ignorance of my protected consumer rights. I may also choose to file a small claims lawsuit against your company. I have attached a copy of my letter, insert date, and your response, insert date. You have until insert date 15 days from the date your client received the response to delete the erroneous inquiries on my file. I appreciate the time you will take to send me this information, and I'll be in touch after I've received this information and read it through. So that's the letter that you would send back to the bureau in response to them telling you to contact the lender. If you get a letter back from the lender that they either haven't verified it or they haven't responded in time or provided you with anything that you asked for, you would then send this mildly threatening letter back to them. Thank you for your response to my letter dated regarding the mysterious and erroneous inquiry reporting to my credit file from your company. Under the FCRA, you are only allowed to report true and accurate information. Since inquiries must have permissible purpose and an agreement signed by me giving you permission to view my report, I ask that you provide me with this competent evidence that you had a right to do so. Since you have not provided me with the requested information or have not done so within the 30 days legally allotted to you, I demand that you remove the inquiry from my file immediately. I will give you 15 days to respond to this letter letting me know that you will be removing the inquiry inquiry from my file. If on the 15th day I have not heard from you, I am prepared to file complaints with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Federal Trade Commission, the Attorney General's office, and quite possibly I may decide to file a small claims lawsuit against you for willfully ignoring my consumer rights. I am sure it would just be easier to remove the inquiry that I didn't authorize than to deal with complaints and lawsuits. Do not underestimate my knowledge of my rights. This is a simple mistake with a simple resolution on your end. And then standard closing response. At this point, if you have not gotten removals from either the Bureau or the lender, you have a right to sue them if they violated the FCRA, which means they haven't responded within 30 days or they haven't completed a proper investigation. So at this point, you would want to reach out to a consumer protection attorney, or you could do this on your own if you feel comfortable, to file a small claim lawsuit against these companies for violating your rights. You have a right to do this under the FDCPA and the FCRA for up to $1,000 every time they violate your rights. So at that point, usually sending that letter to them, next letter to them, letting them know that you have initiated a lawsuit, typically will get you your removal and possibly not, especially with collection agencies, not having to pay them the debt. So definitely look into doing that if the removals do not occur after these letters. So you can use that for inquiries, for collections, for charge-offs, for just about anything that you dispute. So that's it for today for inquiries. Really pretty simple to do. What I can tell you is just be really careful with all of the methods that you're finding online. Many of them are fraudulent. The most popular one going around right now is to call the credit bureaus themselves and ask for an American-based person, and then you are telling them that it is fraud, that you didn't authorize them. But the problem is if they go and they find out, or they get signatures and they find out that you did authorize them, and they have you saying that you didn't authorize them, that's fraud, and fraud is illegal. You don't want to ever step over that line. Never lie. Never say something happened that didn't. Never say it's not yours if it is yours. Never do any of that, because you don't want to end up in court being accused of fraud. You don't want to get arrested. People go to jail for it all the time. Your consumer, your client, who is the consumer, could get in trouble because these letters are coming from them, and then they could turn around and sue you, and before you know it, it's just a big mess. So just don't do it. Never lie. We need to change the reputation of the credit repair business, because right now there are so many methods out there that are just totally illegal. So be the change that the credit repair industry needs. Don't lie. Use the laws, know the laws, study the laws, and protect your customers' rights by using these laws to leverage removals. That's it for today. See you guys tomorrow for Training Tuesday.